Picture this: 300 of Manhattan's wealthiest socialites, crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, designer gowns worth more than most people's cars, and in the middle of it all, a pregnant woman watches her husband grab his briefcase and hurl it directly at her face. She ducks. It hits her 8-year-old daughter instead. Blood on marble floors, a child screaming, 300 phones recording everything. But here's the twist nobody expected. That briefcase was not a moment of rage. It was the first move in a calculated plan to steal her children, lock her in a psychiatric facility, and make her disappear. What her billionaire CEO husband did not know. His pregnant wife used to be a forensic accountant, and she was about to trace every hidden dollar, expose every secret, and burn his empire to the ground. This is not just a story about a woman who survived. This is a story about a woman who fought back. A mother who lost everything, her home, her freedom, her daughter, and turned that loss into the most dangerous weapon a woman can have. Nothing left to lose. If you have ever felt trapped in a relationship that made you feel small, if you have ever questioned your own sanity because someone convinced you that your feelings were wrong, if you have ever wondered whether the door to your cage is really as locked as he wants you to believe, this story is for you. Because sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is refuse to stay silent. The lesson. Here is what Rebecca's story teaches us. Your feelings are valid. Your observations are accurate. You are not too sensitive. You are not too dramatic. You are not crazy, and the children are always watching. They will learn either that abuse is normal or that their mother was strong enough to choose differently. Rebecca chose differently. The meaning. This is more than entertainment. This is a reminder that strength does not mean never falling down. Strength means getting back up when the whole world is trying to keep you on your knees. It means trusting yourself when everyone around you says you are wrong. It means protecting your children, even when the system is designed to work against you. And it means knowing, deep in your bones, that you deserve safety, respect, and love without conditions. I used to think I was smart, forensic accountant, top of my class at Columbia. I could trace a hidden dollar through 17 shell companies across 4 continents before my second cup of coffee. I had built a career on seeing what powerful men tried to hide. But I could not see the monster sleeping next to me for 2 years. If you are listening to this and something feels wrong in your gut about the man you love, trust that feeling. I did not, and it almost killed my daughter. My name is Rebecca Thornton Caldwell. I am 34 years old, and 72 hours ago, my husband threw a briefcase at my face in front of 300 of Manhattan's wealthiest socialites. He missed me. He hit my 8-year-old daughter instead. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this story really begins. Not at the charity gala, where everything exploded, but 3 days earlier, in the kitchen of our Manhattan penthouse, where I was checking the temperature of my husband's eggs for the 6th time. 6 times. I checked his eggs 6 times. That should tell you everything you need to know about what my life had become. The morning sun streamed through our floor-to-ceiling windows, painting the white marble countertops in shades of gold. From the outside, our home looked like something from an architecture magazine. $30 million of carefully curated luxury, 62 floors above the city that never sleeps. From the inside, it was a prison with really nice appliances. Lily sat at the breakfast bar, her blonde hair still tangled from sleep, her small fingers wrapped around a purple crayon. My daughter had learned to make herself invisible during meals. She drew quietly in her journal, never asking questions, never making noise, never buttons. never doing anything that might draw attention. She was 8 years old, and she had already mastered the art of disappearing. "Mommy," she whispered, so quiet I almost missed it. "Why do you check the eggs 6 times?" I froze, my hand hovering over the pan. "Because Daddy Jack likes them perfect, sweetie." Lily's crayon paused on the paper. "Daddy Michael never cared about eggs." The name of my first husband hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Michael Thornton had died in a car accident when Lily was 3. He had been kind and patient and perfectly happy with scrambled eggs, however they came out. He had also been dead for 5 years, and mentioning him in this house was forbidden. I heard Jack's footsteps on the marble stairs before I heard his voice. "Are we talking about the dead husband again?" Jonathan Caldwell III entered the kitchen like he owned it, which technically he did. He owned everything. The penthouse, the cars, the bank accounts, even the clothes on my back came from credit cards with his name on them. He was 42 years old, with silver touches at his temples and the kind of jaw that looked good on magazine covers. CEO of Caldwell Financial Group, old money, older connections. The kind of man who had never been told no in his entire life. "How charming," he continued, pouring himself coffee from the pot I had prepared exactly the way he liked it. "Lily, do not bother your mother with questions about the past. The past is dead. We focus on the future in this family." "Yes, Daddy Jack," Lily said, her eyes dropping back to her drum. Jack, her drawing. I watched my daughter shrink into herself and felt something crack inside my chest. This was not the life I had imagined for her. This was not the life I had imagined for any of us. But here is what they do not tell you about controlling men. It starts small. So small you do not even notice it happening. He suggests you quit your job because the pregnancy is too stressful. He offers to handle all the finances because you should not worry. He recommends you skip your sister's birthday party because he has important clients coming to dinner. By the time you realize you have no money, no job, and no friends left, you are already trapped. If a man isolates you from everyone who loves you, that is not protection. That is a cage. I was 7 months pregnant with our daughter. I had not spoken to my mother in 6 years. My college friends had stopped calling after I canceled lunch plans for the dozenth time. I had no savings, no income, and no way out. And I did not even realize I needed one. Jack's phone buzzed on the counter. He checked it immediately, the way he always did, and something strange happened. His face softened. The corners of his mouth lifted into something that almost looked like a genuine smile. In 2 years of marriage, I had never seen him smile at a text message. "Daddy Jack," Lily said, looking up from her drawing with innocent curiosity. "Who makes you smile like that? You never smile at Mommy like that." The temperature in the kitchen dropped 20 degrees. Jack's face went from soft to stone in the space of a heartbeat. He set down his phone with deliberate care, the kind of controlled movement that meant real danger was coming. "Lily," he said, his voice cold enough to freeze the eggs I had so carefully prepared. "What have I told you about asking questions during breakfast?" My daughter's face crumpled. "I was just curious." "I did not mean to. Did I ask for your opinion? Did I ask for your commentary on my facial expressions? Did I invite you to participate in adult conversations?" "Jack, she is 8 years old." The words left my mouth before I could stop them. His eyes snapped to mine, and I saw the flash of fury that meant I would pay for this intervention later, when we were alone, when there were no witnesses. "I am aware of her age, Rebecca. I am also aware that children need structure and discipline, not encouragement to be nosy about things that do not concern them." He turned back to Lily, who had gone pale beneath her freckles. "Finish your breakfast in silence. Your mother and I have important things to discuss about the charity gala tomorrow night." Lily nodded without speaking. She picked up her spoon with trembling hands and focused entirely on her cereal. She did not look up again for the rest of the meal. I watched my daughter eat in terrified silence and told myself this was normal. Told myself Jack was just stressed about work. Told myself that all marriages had difficult moments and ours was no different. I was very good at lying to myself. The charity gala, Jack continued, as if he had not just reduced a child to silence through sheer intimidation, is tomorrow night at the Riverside Hotel. The Harrington Group will be there. $50 million in potential investment, Rebecca. Do you understand what that means? I nodded, one hand moving to rest on my pregnant belly. Of course. It means you will be perfect. No stumbling, no spilling, no embarrassing stories about your previous marriage or your daughter's dead father. You will smile. You will charm. You will make me look like the kind of family man that investors trust with their retirement funds. His phone buzzed again. He checked it, and that strange, soft smile flickered across his face once more before disappearing. I have meetings all day. I will see you both at dinner. He left without kissing me goodbye. He left without acknowledging Lily at all. He left, and the penthouse felt like it could finally breathe again. "Mommy," Lily whispered after the elevator doors closed, "did I do something wrong?" I pulled my daughter into my arms and held her tight, feeling the baby kick between us. "No, sweetheart, you did nothing wrong. Daddy Jack is just stressed about work." But even as I said the words, I knew they were not true. Jack was not stressed. Jack was exactly who he had always been. I had simply refused to see it. The charity gala was 24 hours away, and everything I thought I knew about my life was about to shatter into a million pieces on the marble floor of the Riverside Hotel ballroom. I just did not know it yet. The grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel sparkled like something from a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow reflections across 300 designer gowns and $1,000 suits. Champagne flowed from fountains shaped like angels. The city's most powerful families gathered to raise money for the Children's Hospital, though I suspected most of them were really there to be seen raising money for the Children's Hospital. I stood near the silent auction tables in a black maternity gown that cost more than my first car. My feet were already swelling in the designer heels Jack had insisted I wear. My back ached. The baby was pressing on my bladder, but I smiled my brightest smile and played the role of perfect corporate wife, because that is what Jack expected, and disappointing Jack had consequences. Lily sat at the children's table near the stage, her small purse stuffed with crayons she had smuggled past the event coordinators. She was drawing quietly, carefully, making herself invisible in a room full of adults who did not notice her. At 8 years old, my daughter had learned that silence was safety. "Rebecca," darling, called Margaret Peterson from across the room. She was a silver-haired woman in her 60s, dripping with diamonds and married to the head of the Peterson Group. "You look absolutely radiant. How much longer now?" 2 months, I replied, my voice warm and practiced. "We are so excited." Jack appeared at my side, his hand settling on the small of my back with possessive pressure. His fingers dug into my skin through the fabric of my dress. "The Peterson Group," he murmured against my ear. "50 million. Do not mess this up." For the next hour, I performed. I asked Margaret Peterson about her foundation work. I complimented her daughter's engagement ring. I laughed at her husband's jokes about golf courses and stock markets. I made Jack look like the devoted family man that investors wanted to trust with their retirement funds, all while his fingers left bruises on my back. Jack's phone kept buzzing. Every few minutes, he would check it, and I would catch that strange, soft expression on his face. the one I had never seen before this week, the one that looked almost like genuine happiness. He never looked at me that way. Around 9 o'clock, I excused myself to get some sparkling cider. The pregnancy made me constantly thirsty, and I needed a moment away from the performance. I was reaching for a crystal glass when I noticed a young woman watching us from across the room, blonde, late 20s, beautiful in the way that made other women feel invisible. She wore a red dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. When our eyes met, she quickly looked away. Something cold settled in my stomach, something that felt like recognition, even though I had never seen her before. I turned back to the refreshment table, grabbed my cider, and tried to convince myself I was imagining things. That is when someone bumped into me from behind. The glass slipped from my fingers. Sparkling cider splashed down the front of my black gown, spreading across the expensive fabric like a golden stain that seemed to glow under the chandeliers. The crystal shattered on the marble floor with a sound that cut through the elegant music. "Oh my goodness," exclaimed the woman who had bumped me, a red-faced donor who had clearly had too much champagne. "I am so sorry. I am such a klutz. Let me help you clean that up." "It is fine," I assured her, dabbing at the stain with a cocktail napkin. These things happen. But even as I spoke, I could feel Jack's eyes boring into me from across the room. When I looked up, his expression was thunderous. He excused himself from his conversation with the Peterson group and strode toward me with the purposeful walk I had learned to fear. "What did you do?" His voice was a whisper that cut through the ballroom chatter like a blade. His hand closed around my arm, just above the elbow, tight enough to leave marks. "Someone bumped into me. It was an accident. There are no accidents with you, Rebecca. Only carelessness and consequences. Jack, please, you are hurting me." His grip tightened. "The Peterson group is watching. Do you have any idea how this looks? My pregnant wife stumbling around like a drunk at a charity event?" I was not stumbling. I was standing still when she... "Do not make excuses." He cut me off, his smile never wavering for the benefit of nearby guests. "Go to the ladies' room and clean yourself up. We have important people to impress tonight." That is when Lily appeared. She had left the children's table, drawn by some instinct that her mother needed help. She ran toward us, clutching a handful of paper napkins from her place setting. "Mommy, I have napkins. Let me help you with your dress." The innocent offer of assistance seemed to infuriate Jack beyond all reason. "Did anyone ask for your help?" His voice went ice cold. "Go back to your table and sit down." "But I just wanted to..." "I said go sit down." His voice carried enough menace to make several nearby guests turn and stare. Children should be seen and not heard at events like this. Lily's face crumpled. Tears began forming in her eyes. Something inside me snapped. That was uncalled for. I heard myself say the words with a firmness that surprised me. She was trying to help. Jack's smile never wavered, but his eyes went flat and dangerous. "We will discuss your opinions about my parenting when we get home." He released my arm and turned toward the table where he had left his briefcase. I assumed he was going to check his phone again. I assumed wrong. What happened next took less than 3 seconds, but it would replay in my mind for the rest of my life. Jack grabbed his leather briefcase from the table. In one explosive motion, without warning, without hesitation, he hurled it directly at my face. I ducked. The briefcase sailed over my head and struck Lily directly in the face. My daughter fell backward. Blood exploded from her nose. She hit the marble floor with a sound I will never forget. And then she started screaming. The ballroom went silent. 300 wealthy socialites stopped mid-conversation. Champagne glasses froze halfway to lips. The string quartet stumbled to a halt. Everyone stared. I dropped to my knees beside Lily, pulling her into my arms. her blood soaking into my already ruined dress. "What is wrong with you?" I screamed at Jack. "What is wrong with you?" He stood frozen, finally seeming to realize what he had done. His mouth opened and closed. His public mask cracked for just a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. It was an accident," he stammered. "The child got in the way. We all saw what you did." A voice from the crowd. A woman I did not know. "Someone call security." Another voice. A man near the bar. I knew his father. An elderly woman. Loud enough for everyone to hear. The apple does not fall far, does it? Phone cameras were rising. The room was no longer watching charity gala. It was watching a CEO self-destruct in real time. "Lily, baby, I am here. I am right here." I pressed napkins to her bleeding nose, trying to stop the flow. "Stay with Mommy. It is going to be okay." But even as I said the words, I knew nothing would ever be okay again. The mask had slipped. The monster was exposed, and 300 witnesses had seen everything. I just did not know yet how much worse things were about to get. The emergency room at St. Mary's Hospital smelled like antiseptic and bad coffee. Lily lay on a narrow bed, her nose packed with gauze, her eyes swollen from crying. The doctor said she had a broken nose and a mild concussion from hitting the floor. My 8-year-old daughter had a broken nose because her stepfather threw a briefcase at her face, and somehow, I was the one being treated like the problem. Jack paced the waiting area just outside Lily's room, his phone pressed to his ear. I could hear fragments of his conversation through the partially open door. It was clearly an accident. The child moved into the trajectory. My wife is emotional due to pregnancy hormones. I listened to him spin the story in real time, watched him transform from aggressor to victim in the space of a few sentences. He was already rewriting history, and the incident had happened less than 2 hours ago. "Mommy," Lily whispered, her voice thick from the gauze. "Why did Daddy Jack throw his bag at you?" I brushed the hair from her forehead, my heart shattering into smaller and smaller pieces. "I do not know, baby." Sometimes adults do things that do not make sense. Is he going to be in trouble? I did not know how to answer that. In a fair world, yes. In a world where justice worked the way it was supposed to, a man who threw objects at children would face consequences. But Jack was Jonathan Caldwell, the third. His family had donated a wing to this hospital. His company employed half the judges in this district. His connections reached into every corner of the city. A woman appeared in the doorway. Mid-40s, tired eyes, badge that identified her as Detective Rosa Martinez. "Mrs. Caldwell, I happened to be visiting a friend in the ER and heard about the incident. Mind if I ask a few questions?" Jack materialized behind her like a shark sensing blood in the water. "My wife has been through a traumatic evening. Any questions can be directed to our attorney." Detective Martinez did not look intimidated. I have seen that man at 3 different domestic calls this year. Different addresses. None of them led anywhere because, because he is Jonathan Caldwell. But if you ever need to talk, off the record. She slipped something into my hand, a business card. Her personal cell phone number, handwritten on the back. Jack stepped between us, blocking her from my view. "Thank you for your concern, Detective. We will be sure to reach out if we need assistance." His tone made it clear we would not be reaching out. Detective Martinez gave me one last look, something that might have been pity or warning, then disappeared down the corridor. That is when the real nightmare began. Jack's attorney arrived at 3 in the morning. Thomas Crawford was silver-haired and sharp-eyed, the kind of lawyer who charged $1,000 an hour and earned every penny through moral flexibility. "Mrs. Caldwell," Crawford said, his voice dripping with false concern, "due to the stress you have caused this evening, Mr. Caldwell believes you need rest." He has arranged for you to spend a few days at Greenwood Wellness Center. I stared at him, not comprehending. A mental health facility? I am not going anywhere. Crawford smiled the way a snake smiles before it strikes. You can go voluntarily, or Mr. Caldwell can have you committed for evaluation. Given your erratic behavior tonight, throwing yourself in front of a briefcase, the pregnancy hormones, your history of depression after your first husband's death, I do not have. Jack moved to my side, his face arranged in an expression of loving concern for the benefit of the night shift nurses watching from the station. Darling, you have been struggling. Everyone saw it tonight. Let me get you the help you need. I will take care of Lily while you rest. I finally understood what was happening. He was not worried about the video. He was not worried about the witnesses. He was using the incident to take my daughter and lock me away. He had probably planned something like this for months, waiting for the right moment. My husband had just handed me the consequences for embarrassing him in public. No, I said. No, I am not going anywhere. Lily needs me. Jack's mask flickered. Rebecca, do not make this harder than it needs to be. I said no. For a long moment, we stared at each other. Husband and wife, predator and prey, monster and victim. Then Jack nodded to someone behind me. I felt hands grip my arms. Security guards, hospital staff. People who were supposed to help patients, not restrain them. What are you doing? I struggled against their hold. You cannot do this. I have not done anything wrong. Crawford produced a stack of papers with an official-looking seal. Emergency psychiatric hold, Mrs. Caldwell. Signed by Judge Morrison an hour ago. Your husband has expressed concern about your mental state, and given tonight's events, the judge agreed that evaluation is warranted. That is when Lily woke up. Mommy? Her voice was confused, groggy from pain medication. Mommy, why are those people holding you? Everything is fine, baby. I tried to keep my voice calm. Go back to sleep. A social worker appeared, a young woman with a clipboard who would not meet my eyes. I am here for the minor child, she said. Lily Thornton. We have temporary custody orders. No, you cannot take her. She is my daughter. Mr. Caldwell is her legal adoptive father, the social worker recited. He has been granted emergency custody pending your psychiatric evaluation. Lily started screaming. Mommy, do not let them take me. I will be good. I will not draw during dinner anymore. She was dragged from her hospital bed by strangers in the middle of the night, blood still crusted around her broken nose, tears streaming down her bruised face. And I could not do anything to stop it. Lily. I fought against the guards holding me. Lily. Jack watched the whole scene with an expression of calculated sorrow, playing the concerned husband, playing the responsible stepfather, playing his part perfectly while my world collapsed around me. Take her to Greenwood, he said quietly. I will handle things here. The last thing I saw before they sedated me was my daughter's terrified face disappearing around the corner. The last thing I heard was her voice screaming for a mother who could not save her. Greenwood Wellness Center was not a hospital. It was a warehouse where wealthy men stored women who had become problems. The building was beautiful. I will give it that. Victorian architecture, surrounded by manicured gardens, private rooms with expensive linens, a spa, a pool, gourmet meals prepared by a professional chef. But the doors were locked, the windows did not open, and every patient I met had the same story. Her husband put her there. I spent my first 3 days heavily medicated, floating in a fog that made it impossible to think clearly. They called it treatment. I called it chemical imprisonment. On the 4th day, they reduced my dosage because of the pregnancy. Said they did not want to risk harm to the baby. As if locking a pregnant woman in a psychiatric facility against her will was not already causing harm, my head began to clear, and I started paying attention. Group therapy happened every afternoon in a sunlit room with comfortable chairs and motivational posters on the walls. There were 8 women in my session, ranging in age from mid-20s to early 70s, all wealthy, all well-dressed, all with the same hollow look in their eyes. "Welcome to the Inconvenient Wives Club," said a woman named Patricia Harrison during my first session. She was somewhere in her 60s, silver hair, perfectly styled, designer clothes that cost more than most people's monthly salary. "I do not understand," I said. Patricia smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "We are all here for the same reason, dear. Our husbands found us inconvenient. Too many questions, too much independence, too close to discovering something they wanted to keep hidden." Another woman, Linda Stewart, nodded in agreement. She was younger, maybe 40, with the kind of beauty that required maintenance. "My husband put me here because I found his offshore accounts, $20 million hidden in the Cayman Islands, money that was supposed to be for our children's education. Mine committed me after I questioned the prenup," added a third woman. "I discovered it gave him control over my inheritance if I was ever declared mentally incompetent. 3 days later, here I was. I looked around the circle. 8 women, 8 stories, 8 husbands who had discovered that psychiatric commitment was easier than divorce. My husband threw a briefcase at my daughter," I said, "hit her in the face, broke her nose, 300 witnesses at a charity gala. And somehow, I am the crazy one." Patricia reached over and patted my hand. "That is how it works, dear. They create the crisis, then punish us for reacting to it. The more you fight, the more unstable you look. The calmer you stay, the more they medicate you until you cannot fight anymore. So what do we do?" I asked. "How do we get out?" The room went quiet. "Most of us do not," Linda finally admitted. "Our husbands control the doctors. Our husbands control the lawyers. Our husbands control our children." "Most of us," Patricia repeated, emphasis on the first word. "But not all of us. Some of us are playing a longer game." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "What did you do before you married Jonathan Caldwell?" "I was a forensic accountant," I said. "I traced hidden money for a living." For the first time since I arrived, Patricia's smile reached her eyes. "Well then, I think we need to have a private conversation." That night, Patricia visited my room after lights out. She brought Linda with her, along with a woman named Dorothy Freeman, who I had not met before. Dorothy was 72 years old, sharp as a tack, and had been at Greenwood for 3 years. "We have been waiting for someone like you," Patricia said. "Someone with actual skills. I do not understand." "Men like our husbands think they are smart," Dorothy explained. "They move money through shell companies and offshore accounts and think no one will ever find it. But they all make the same mistakes. They all leave patterns. And those patterns can be traced by someone who knows what to look for. But they took my phone, my computer. I do not have access to any financial systems." "Did they take your memory?" Patricia asked. "You spent years tracing hidden assets. You know what to look for. All you need is access to one computer for 1 hour. And then what? Then you find the evidence that puts your husband in federal prison. Then you get your daughter back. Then you destroy him the way he tried to destroy you." I stared at these 3 women, wives who had been locked away and forgotten, mothers who had been separated from their children, victims who had decided to stop being victims. "There is an orderly," Linda continued, "Marcus Williams. His mother was in a place like this. His stepfather put her there. It took 2 years to get her out. He helps us when he can. What happened to her stepfather?" Linda's smile was cold and satisfied. "Federal prison. Tax fraud. Turns out his mother had documented everything before she was committed. All she needed was someone to help her get the evidence to the right people." I thought about Lily, about her broken nose and her terrified screams, about the baby growing inside me, who deserved better than a father who threw things at children. What do I need to do? The next afternoon, Marcus Williams helped me access a computer for work emails. At least, that is what the log said. What I actually did was pull every financial record I could remember about Caldwell Financial Group, account numbers Jack had mentioned on phone calls, shell company names I had glimpsed on his laptop screen, patterns of spending that did not match legitimate business operations. And I found it. $47 million missing over 5 years. Shell companies in the Cayman Islands, all named after flowers. Vanessa's Flowers, Lily's Garden, Rose Holdings. He was naming his crimes after women. But who was Vanessa? I was about to find out, because that is when my mother walked into Greenwood Wellness Center and demanded my release. I had not seen Margaret O'Brien in 6 years. The last time we spoke, she was drunk, and I was 28 years old, and she was telling me that my husband's death was my fault, that I should have made Michael stay home that night, that I had killed him by letting him drive in the rain. She had been my emergency contact once, then she had become my deepest wound. Now she stood in the Greenwood lobby, sober and furious, with a camera crew from Channel 7 News setting up behind her. "You are holding my pregnant daughter against her will, based on her husband's request," she announced to the administrator. "I have contacted the ACLU, the New York Times, and as you can see, I have got a camera crew outside. Now you can release her voluntarily, or you can be tomorrow's viral villain." The administrator went pale. "Mrs. O'Brien, this is a private medical facility. We cannot simply, my daughter's lawyer will be filing a wrongful commitment suit within the hour. My daughter's doctor will be questioning the validity of the evaluation that brought her here. And my daughter's story will be on the evening news tonight unless she walks out those doors in the next 15 minutes. I stood in the hallway, watching this woman I barely recognized negotiate my freedom with the confidence of a general commanding troops. This was not the mother I remembered. This was not the woman who had drunk herself into oblivion every night for years after my father left. This was someone new, someone strong, someone sober. 14 minutes later, I walked out of Greenwood Wellness Center for the first time in nearly 2 weeks. "Mom," I said, the word feeling strange in my mouth, "I have not seen you in 6 years." "I know, baby." She took my hand, her grip firm and warm. "I saw you on the news, saw that man's face. When he threw that briefcase, recognized it. Recognized it? Looked just like your father before he would hit me." We stood in the parking lot, mother and daughter, separated by years of pain and silence. But in that moment, none of it mattered. She had come, she had fought, she had won. "I have been sober for 4 years," she continued, working the program, making amends. "I was waiting for the right time to reach out to you. Guess the right time found us first." She drove me to a motel outside the city. Nothing fancy. 2 beds, a coffee maker, a bathroom that had seen better days, but the doors locked from the inside, and Jack did not know where we were. That night, Detective Rosa Martinez showed up with files and coffee and a look of determination that made me feel, for the first time, like I might actually survive this. "I have been investigating your husband for 2 years," Martinez said. 3 domestic violence calls that went nowhere. 2 ex-girlfriends who suddenly moved out of state. 1 secretary who disappeared from public record entirely. Disappeared? Her name was Vanessa Blake. She worked at Caldwell Financial for 4 years. Then she transferred to a consulting position in Miami, and her social media went dark. "Vanessa," I repeated, "like Vanessa's Flowers. One of the shell companies." Martinez's eyes sharpened. "You found the shell companies? $47 million missing, all routed through companies named after women." "That is enough for a federal investigation," Martinez said. Combined with the video from the gala, we might actually be able to take him down. What about Lily? My voice cracked. Can I get her back? Martinez hesitated. Your husband has emergency custody based on your commitment. But if we can prove he is a flight risk, if we can show the court that he has been hiding assets and planning to run, no judge will leave a child with him. I pulled out the financial records I had memorized and reconstructed from my time at Greenwood, numbers and account names and patterns that added up to federal charges. This is enough, I said. This has to be enough. My mother poured terrible motel coffee into paper cups and handed them around. I have been sober for 4 years, she said, but I might need a drink to celebrate when that smug son of a bitch gets arrested. Martinez almost smiled. This coffee might be worse than prison coffee. You have had prison coffee? I have made prison coffee. Do not ask. We spent the next several hours organizing evidence, building a case, planning our approach to the FBI. For the first time in 2 years, I felt like myself again. Not Jack's wife, not Lily's worried mother. I was Rebecca Thornton, forensic accountant, and I was about to burn my husband's empire to the ground. I went to sleep that night feeling something I had not felt in months: hope. At 4 a.m, the police kicked down our door. Rebecca Caldwell, you are under arrest for corporate espionage, theft of proprietary business information, and violation of your commitment release conditions. I stumbled out of bed, my pregnant belly, making every movement awkward. What? I do not. The evidence. Where is my evidence? My laptop was gone. My documents were gone. Everything we had spent hours organizing had vanished. Martinez stood by the bathroom door, being questioned by 2 officers I did not recognize. I do not know what you are talking about, she said flatly. I barely know this woman. My heart stopped. Rosa, what are you? Martinez did not look at me. She stared straight ahead, her face completely blank, like we had never met. My mother was being handcuffed in the other room. You cannot do this, she shouted. She is 7 months pregnant. At the police station, Jack appeared with his attorney. Thomas Crawford smiled his snake smile and produced yet another stack of papers with official seals. Emergency custody order, he announced. Given Mrs. Caldwell's mental instability, her escape from treatment, and her theft of proprietary business information, Mr. Caldwell has been granted full, temporary custody of Lily Thornton. She is not even your biological daughter, I screamed. You cannot take her. Jack leaned close, his lips brushing my ear. I adopted her, remember? You begged me to. Please give her a father figure, Jack. You gave me everything, Rebecca. Your career, your money, your daughter. Now I own all of it. He stepped back, his public mask perfectly in place. Book her, he told the officers. I am taking my daughter home. The holding cell was 6 feet by 8 feet. Concrete walls, metal toilet. A bench that served as both chair and bed. I sat with my hands pressed against my pregnant belly, feeling my daughter move inside me, and tried to figure out where everything had gone wrong. Martinez had betrayed me. The evidence was gone. My mother was in a cell somewhere down the hall, and Jack had won. Have you ever been so broken that you considered just giving up? Not in a dramatic way, just stopping. Stop fighting. Stop hoping. Let him win because fighting only made it hurt worse. I sat in that cell and thought maybe they are right. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe none of what I remember is real. Maybe Jack loves me and I am destroying my own family. That is what abuse does. It makes you doubt your own sanity. Makes you wonder if the fist hitting your face is really love, disguised as discipline. If you are feeling that way right now, if someone has made you question your own reality, please hear me. You are not crazy. Your perception is not wrong. Your gut feeling is not hormones, or sensitivity, or overreaction. Trust yourself. even when no one else does. A guard appeared at my cell door. Caldwell, you made bail. That is impossible. I did not have anyone left to call. Tell that to the guy with the town car. Outside the station, a black Mercedes waited at the curb. The back door opened, revealing a man I recognized from 1,000 charity galas and business dinners, Charles Weston. 67 years old, billionaire, Jack's godfather. Get in, Mrs. Caldwell. I believe we have a common enemy. 20 minutes later, I sat in the library of Charles Weston's estate, surrounded by more wealth than I had ever seen in one place. You are Jack's godfather, I said. You have protected him his whole life. I protected his father, Charles corrected. I tolerated Jack. But what he has done to you, to that little girl, to the investors whose retirement funds he has stolen, I have been waiting for someone smart enough to help me destroy him properly. A door opened behind me. I turned, ready to run, ready to fight. Detective Rosa Martinez walked in. Sorry about the performance at the motel, she said. Jack has got cops on payroll. I had to make it convincing. She set my laptop on the coffee table. The laptop that had supposedly been stolen. I grabbed it before the police arrived and hid it, she explained. Evidence is intact. I stared at her, at Charles, at the library full of resources and allies I had not known existed. Why, I asked Charles. Why help me? Because Jack has been embezzling for 5 years, Charles replied. He thinks the board does not know. We know. We have been building a case, but we needed insider testimony. And there is something else you need to know, Martinez added. The transfers to Miami. Jack has another family there. The world tilted. Another family? A woman named Vanessa Blake. She has a 3-year-old son, Vanessa, the secretary who disappeared. The name on the shell company. He has a child with another woman? He has a family with another woman, Charles said. He was going to leave you after this baby was born. Move the money, file for divorce, Hume, take Lily because she is already adopted and useful for image, and disappear to Miami. I thought about the past 2 years, the isolation, the control, the way Jack had systematically stripped away everything that made me independent. He was not just abusing me. He was preparing to dispose of me. He had done this before, Martinez continued. The secretary who disappeared before Vanessa? Her name was Caroline Fisher. She found out about his financial crimes and threatened to report him. She died in a car accident 6 months later. Just like your first husband. The room went cold. Michael, I whispered. Michael died in a car accident. I know. Martinez's voice was gentle. And I am not saying Jack was involved. But Caroline Fisher's accident happened on a rainy night, on an isolated road, and no one ever investigated why her brakes failed. My first husband died on a rainy night, on an isolated road. No one ever investigated why he lost control of his car. Oh God, I breathed. Oh God, what did I marry? A monster, Charles said simply. But monsters can be stopped when people work together. He slid a folder across the table. Everything we have, financial records, witness statements, communication logs, combined with what you found, it is enough to put Jack away for 20 years. What about Lily? I asked. That is all that matters. Getting my daughter back, Charles nodded. We have an emergency custody hearing scheduled for tomorrow morning. A different judge. One Jack does not own. If we present this evidence, you will have Lily back by noon. For the second time, I allowed myself to feel hope. I should have known better. The custody hearing lasted 3 hours. Judge Harold Pemberton was everything I had hoped for. Fair, impartial, unimpressed by Jack's wealth and connections. Rebecca's legal team, funded by Charles Weston, presented our evidence methodically. The financial fraud, the shell companies, the proof of a second family in Miami, the video from the gala showing Jack hurling a briefcase at an 8-year-old child. By the end, even Jack's attorney, Thomas Crawford, looked defeated. This court finds sufficient evidence to suspend Mr. Caldwell's temporary custody, Judge Pemberton announced. Lily Thornton is to be returned to her mother immediately, pending full investigation into Mr. Caldwell's finances and fitness as a parent. Lily ran into my arms so fast, she nearly knocked me over. Mommy, she was crying, laughing, clutching me like she would never let go. Mommy, I knew you would come. I told Daddy Jack you would come, and he said you were sick, but I knew. I held my daughter and felt the baby kick between us, and for one perfect moment, everything was right. My mother was there. She had been released the night before when Charles Weston's lawyers got the charges dropped. She stood in the back of the courtroom, wiping tears with a tissue that was already soaked through. "Let us go home, baby girl," she said. "Both of you." We drove to a safe house Charles had arranged, a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but the doors locked from the inside, and we were together. That night, I made dinner for my family. Real dinner. Not the perfectly measured portions Jack demanded, but whatever we felt like eating. Lily helped me stir the pasta sauce. My mother made a salad that was mostly croutons. We laughed. We actually laughed. I could not remember the last time I had heard Lily laugh like that. Around 9 o'clock, my phone rang. Charles Weston. "Rebecca, I need you to remain calm." My blood went cold. "What happened?" "Check your bank account." I pulled up the app with shaking hands. The account Charles had set up for my legal fees, the one with $500,000 that was supposed to fund my fight for freedom, showed a balance of 0. I do not understand. "Where did the money go?" "Someone on my staff," Charles said, his voice tight with anger. "Someone Jack bought. They transferred everything to an offshore account an hour ago." But that is not the worst part. A knock at the door. Lily jumped. My mother moved to the window. "Rebecca, there are police cars outside," she said. "A lot of them." "I know," Charles continued. "Jack's people leaked your location, and there is more. He sent photos to Judge Morrison. Photos of your mother buying alcohol and driving drunk. Mom has been sober for 4 years. It does not matter. The photos are convincing. Morrison is issuing a warrant for her arrest right now. Parole violation. No, this cannot be happening." The knock became pounding. "Police, open up." My mother looked at me, then at Lily, then back at me. "Take care of her," she said. "Take care of both of them." "Mom, wait." She opened the door and walked out with her hands raised. I watched through the window as they handcuffed her and pushed her into the back of a squad car. "Grandma Maggie!" Lily screamed. "Grandma Maggie!" No, another car pulled up. Jack stepped out of the back, Thomas Crawford beside him. He looked at me through the window, and he smiled. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Mrs. Caldwell?" A woman's voice, young, scared. "This is Vanessa Blake. Jack just left my apartment. He told me his plan. He is going to have you committed permanently. Unfit mother, history of mental illness, unstable family. Your mother in prison will be the final proof." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because he promised he would leave you for me. Now I know he will never leave anyone for anyone. He will just collect us, use us, dispose of us. I have a son, Mrs. Caldwell, Jack's son, and I just realized my boy is going to grow up either without a father or with a monster as a role model. What can I do? I can get into his home office. I can access his real records, the ones he does not know anyone knows about. But I need help. I need someone who knows how to find what he is hiding." "Then help me," I said. "Help me destroy him before he destroys us all." I hung up the phone and looked at my daughter. "Lily, sweetheart, Mommy needs you to be brave. I am scared, Mommy. Being scared and doing hard things anyway is being brave. That is the secret nobody tells you. But even as I said the words, I could feel another contraction building in my belly. The stress was sending me into early labor, and Jack was walking toward my door. Everything fell apart in the space of 6 minutes. The first disaster was my mother being dragged away in handcuffs. I watched through the window as she was shoved into the police car, her eyes finding mine, for just a moment before the door slammed shut. "Do not give up, baby," she shouted. "Do not let him win. I survived your father. You can survive him. Grandma Maggie." Lily was crying, pressing her face against the glass. "Grandma Maggie, come back." The second disaster came 2 minutes later, when the contractions hit with full force. I doubled over, gripping the kitchen counter. The baby was not due for another 6 weeks. But stress does terrible things to a pregnant body, and my body had reached its breaking point. "We need to get you to a hospital," Charles said through the phone. "I will send a car. No hospitals. That is where Jack will expect me to go. Rebecca, you could be in premature labor. The baby, I know." I pressed my hand against my belly, feeling my daughter move restlessly inside me. I know. Jack was at the door now. I could hear his voice, smooth and concerned, explaining to the officers that his wife was mentally unstable and needed medical attention. The third disaster happened when I opened the door. Not because I wanted to, because the contractions were coming faster, and Lily was terrified, and I did not have anywhere else to go. Jack took one look at me, hunched over in pain, and his expression shifted into performance mode. "Officers, my wife is in labor. We need to get her to St. Mary's immediately. Thank God I got here in time." He wrapped his arm around me, supporting my weight, playing the devoted husband for his audience of uniformed police. In the ambulance, he held my hand and whispered threats. "You will sign the custody papers. You will drop all charges. You will come home and be the wife you promised to be. Or I will make sure you never see either of your daughters again." The hospital was chaos. Doctors and nurses rushing around, monitors beeping, someone shouting about fetal distress. "We might have to deliver early," the doctor said. Her name tag read Sarah Mitchell. The stress on the baby. "Lily," I gasped. "Where is Lily?" "She was taken to the waiting room," Jack said. "Do not worry. I will make sure she is safe." "No." The word came out as a scream. "No. Keep her away from him." But no one was listening. They were too busy trying to stop my labor, too busy monitoring the baby's heartbeat, too busy doing their jobs, while Jack orchestrated his final victory. Through the window of my room, I watched it happen. Jack walking toward the waiting room where Lily sat alone. Jack showing papers to a social worker. Jack taking Lily's hand, Lily screaming, reaching toward my room, her face twisted with terror. "Mommy, no, I do not want to go with him. He hurts people." Jack's voice, smooth and sorrowful. "Poor thing is so confused. The stress of her mother's mental breakdown. Mommy." I tried to get out of bed, tried to run to her. Nurses held me down. Doctors shouted orders. Lily, restraints on my wrists, a needle in my arm. The last thing I saw was my daughter being carried out of the hospital by the man who had thrown a briefcase at her face. The last thing I heard was her voice screaming for a mother who could not save her. Then darkness. When I woke up, 12 hours had passed. The labor had stopped. The baby was stable. And I was completely alone. No daughter, no mother, no allies, no hope. Jack had won, except for one thing he did not know. While he was busy destroying me, while he was congratulating himself on his victory, while he was certain he had crushed every threat to his power, an army was assembling. Detective Martinez with full FBI authority, Charles Weston with board support, Vanessa Blake with access to every secret Jack thought was hidden. And me, Rebecca Thornton, forensic accountant, with nothing left to lose. Here's what I learned in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling while my world burned. Nothing left to lose is the most dangerous weapon a woman can have. When you have already lost everything, you stop being careful. You stop being polite. You stop playing by rules that were designed to keep you caged. Jack Caldwell thought he had won. He did not understand that he had just created the one thing he should have feared most. A mother with nothing left to protect except her children's futures. And I was about to show him what a forensic accountant can do when she stops trying to save her marriage and starts trying to destroy her enemy. The annual shareholder meeting of Caldwell Financial Group was the most important event on the company calendar. 200 investors gathered in the grand presentation hall. Media cameras lined the walls. Every major financial outlet sent reporters to cover the CEO's keynote address. Jack stood at the podium in a $3,000 suit, looking every inch the successful businessman. His face was arranged in an expression of confident authority. Caldwell Financial has never been stronger, he announced. Our commitment to your retirement security is unwavering. I watched from the back of the room. 8 months pregnant, dressed in a simple black dress, flanked by Charles Weston on one side and Detective Martinez on the other. Jack did not see me enter. He was too busy performing for his audience. Our projections for the coming fiscal year show unprecedented growth, he continued. With strategic investments in emerging markets and innovative financial products, Caldwell Financial is poised to. I would like to make an addendum to that presentation. My voice carried across the hall. 200 heads turned. Jack's face went white, then red. Then he recovered his composure with practiced ease. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife has been unwell. Security, please escort her. Before they do, I called out, you might want to see what your money has actually been funding. Behind me, Vanessa Blake worked the tech booth. She had arrived the night before with a flash drive containing everything. Jack's real accounts, his real transactions, his real plans. The screen behind Jack flickered. His PowerPoint presentation disappeared. In its place appeared Lily's drawings. 2 years of artwork. Dated, detailed, devastating. The first drawing showed a man screaming at a woman with dollar signs flying from a computer screen into a dark hole. In careful 8-year-old handwriting, the caption read, Daddy Jack takes money from old people and hides it. Gasps from the audience. The second drawing showed a man hugging a blonde woman with a small boy standing nearby. Caption, Daddy Jack's other family that Mommy doesn't know about. More gasps. Whispers spreading like wildfire. The third drawing showed a briefcase flying through the air toward a small girl's face. Caption, The day Daddy Jack hurt me. Jack's mask finally cracked. These are the drawings of a disturbed child, he sputtered. Obviously fabricated by my wife's legal team, too. They are the observations of an 8-year-old who pays attention, I interrupted. Unlike her stepfather, who never noticed that she was documenting every crime, every affair, every abuse. The screen changed again. Now it showed financial records, account transfers, shell companies, $47 million traced through 7 countries to offshore accounts in Jack's name. An investor in the front row stood up, his face purple with rage. That is my retirement fund. I can see my contribution number. Chaos erupted. Jack shouted for security. Security looked at each other and did not move. Charles Weston rose from his seat. I move for an emergency board vote to remove Jonathan Caldwell as CEO and freeze all company assets pending federal investigation. Seconded. called a board member. All in favor, called another. A forest of raised hands. Jonathan Caldwell, you are under arrest. Detective Martinez walked toward the podium, flanked by FBI agents in dark suits. Wire fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, assault on a minor. You have the right to remain silent. Jack's composure shattered completely. You stupid woman, he screamed at me. You have destroyed everything. I made you. Without me, you are nothing. The FBI agents cuffed his hands behind his back. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. I walked toward him, slowly, deliberately, 8 months pregnant and utterly unafraid. Without you, I said, my voice calm and clear, I am free. Lily is safe, and this baby will never know what it is like to walk on eggshells in her own home. Jack's face twisted with hatred. He lunged toward me, but the agents held him back. This is not over, Rebecca. Family is forever. Marriage is forever. You cannot escape. She is not scared of you anymore. The voice came from behind Charles Weston, small, clear, determined. Lily stepped out from where she had been hidden, her hand clasped in Vanessa Blake's protective grip. Neither am I, my daughter added. Jack stared at Lily, at the child he had terrorized, at the stepdaughter he had tried to possess, and something in him finally broke. You, she. They led him away. Every camera captured his collapse. Every reporter documented his destruction. In the end, the monster was just a man, a weak, pathetic man who needed to control others because he could not control himself. And we had stopped him, all of us, together. 6 months later, I stood in the kitchen of our new house, watching snow fall on the Vermont hillside. It was not a penthouse. It was not worth $30 million. It did not have marble floors or designer appliances or floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. It was perfect. Hope Catherine Thornton was 4 months old. She lay in a bouncer on the kitchen counter, watching me with the clear blue eyes she had inherited from her biological father, Jack's eyes. But she would never know his cruelty. She would never learn his lessons about control and possession. She would grow up loved. That was enough. Lily sat at the kitchen table, working on a drawing. Her artwork had changed in the past 6 months. No more dark colors and sharp edges. Now she drew gardens and rainbows and families with smiling faces. Today's drawing showed our house. Each room was labeled in her careful 9-year-old handwriting. Mommy's room, Lily's room, Baby Hope's room, happy kitchen, safe living room. Grandma Maggie's room, she added, her tongue poking out in concentration. My mother appeared in the doorway, carrying bags of groceries. Your mother is here with the world's most aggressive organic produce selection, I laughed. Mom, you know you do not have to do this every week. I missed 18 years, she replied. I have got a lot of organic kale to make up for. The front door opened again. Detective Rosa Martinez, now just Rosa to us, stomped snow off her boots. Did someone say family dinner? Lily held up her drawing. Auntie Rosa, look, I drew our family. Rosa studied the artwork with appropriate seriousness. She pointed to each figure in turn. That is your mom. That is you. That is Baby Hope. That is Grandma Maggie. And that beautiful woman with the excellent hair must be me. Lily giggled. It is. I watched my family gather in the kitchen, talking and laughing and just being together, and felt something I had forgotten existed. Peace. Jack got 23 years in federal prison. His assets were seized and distributed to the investors he had defrauded. Charles Weston established a foundation for domestic violence survivors and named it after Lily. Vanessa Blake got immunity for her testimony. She moved back to Ohio with her son and started over. We exchanged emails sometimes. She was doing well. And me? I went back to work. Forensic accounting for a nonprofit that helps women find hidden assets during divorces. Turns out, there are a lot of men hiding money from wives they are planning to discard. But mostly, I learned something that took me 34 years to understand. "Mommy," Lily said, looking up from her coloring, "you are doing that thing where you stare out the window and think big thoughts. Am I?" "Yeah." "What are you thinking about?" "I am thinking about how proud I am of you, and how brave you were when things were scary." Lily considered this with the serious expression she always wore when processing important ideas. "I was not brave. I was scared. I am still scared sometimes." I pulled her into my arms and held her tight. Being scared and doing hard things anyway is being brave. That is the secret nobody tells you. From her bouncer, Hope made the small, cooing sounds that meant she wanted attention. Lily reached over and took her sister's tiny hand. "We are brave," Lily told the baby. "Mommy and me and you, we are all brave." If you are listening to this and you are in a relationship that makes you feel small, scared, or crazy, here's what I wish someone had told me. Your feelings are valid. Your observations are accurate. You are not too sensitive or too dramatic. There is help available. You can rebuild from nothing, and your children are watching. They will learn either that abuse is normal or that their mother was strong enough to choose differently. I chose differently. And if you are still in that cage, I promise you, the door is not as locked as he wants you to believe. Dinner that night was chaos. Good chaos. The kind of chaos that comes from too many people trying to help in a small kitchen, from a baby who needs feeding at exactly the wrong moment, from a grandmother who keeps adding ingredients to dishes that do not need them. We burned the garlic bread. Nobody cared. Lily told us about her new school, about the friends she had made, about the art teacher who said she had real talent. Rosa complained about her new partner at the FBI, a rookie who could not find evidence if it bit him. My mother admitted she was thinking about getting a dog, something small and ridiculous that she could spoil, and I sat at the head of the table, Hope in my arms, surrounded by the family I had built from the ashes of the one I had escaped, and I felt grateful. Grateful for my daughters, grateful for my mother, who had come back when I needed her most, grateful for Rosa, who had risked her career to help us, grateful for Charles Weston, who had used his power for good instead of evil, grateful for Vanessa, who had chosen to be an ally instead of an enemy, grateful for myself for finding the strength I did not know I had. Jack Caldwell had tried to destroy us. Instead, he had shown us what we were capable of surviving. Later that night, after the dishes were done, and Lily was asleep, and Hope had been fed and changed and tucked into her crib, I stood at my bedroom window and watched the snow fall. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Convicted CEO Jonathan Caldwell denied parole for third time. Victims advocate. Groups celebrate. Decision. I read the headline twice. Then I closed the app and set the phone aside. Jack Caldwell was not my problem anymore. He was just a man in a cell, watching his victims thrive through a television in the common room, and I was free. Finally, truly free. The next morning, Lily found me in the kitchen, starting the coffee. "Mommy," she said, "I had a dream about Daddy Jack." My heart clenched. "What kind of dream, sweetheart?" "He was in time out forever," she said matter-of-factly, "and he was sad because nobody wanted to visit him. And I felt bad at first, but then I remembered what Dr. Walsh said." "What did she say? That feeling bad for someone who hurt you does not mean you have to let them hurt you again. And that timeout is where people go when they need to think about what they did." I pulled my daughter into my arms and held her tight. "That is exactly right, baby. That is exactly right." Lily hugged me back, her small arm strong around my neck. "Mommy, can we have pancakes for breakfast?" I laughed. The kind of laugh that comes from deep in your chest, from a place that had been frozen for 2 years and was finally starting to thaw. "We can have anything you want, sweetheart. Anything at all." Because this was our life now, not perfect, not easy, but ours, and nobody would ever take it away again. If this story moved you, if it opened your eyes, if it made you think about someone you know who might need to hear these words, do not keep it to yourself. Hit that like button so more women can find this message. Drop a comment and tell me, what moment hit you the hardest? I read every single one. Share this with a friend who needs to know she is not alone. And if you have not already, subscribe and ring that notification bell. Because stories like this, stories that matter, stories that might just save someone's life, they deserve to be heard. Together, we can break the silence around domestic violence. Together, we can remind every woman trapped in a cage that the door is not as locked as he wants her to believe. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And I will see you in the next story. Closing disclaimer. This content has been carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful stories with real-life lessons. Every word is crafted with intention, every scene designed to inform, inspire, and empower. We believe that powerful storytelling can change lives, and we are honored that you chose to spend your time with us today.